Hi guys and welcome to another vlog. I am riding this. This is the KTM 390 Adventure. Finally, straight away, let's look at the headlight. The headlight looks similar to the one on the Duke 390. It's an LED unit with a nice DRL KTM branding right there as well, which looks really cool. In fact, this motorcycle has a lot of KTM branding. I'll come to that in a bit. LED indicators both at the front as well as the rear, and sort of a beak treatment because this number plate holder is specifically there for the number plate. So it actually changes the shape of the very front. The front fender has been modified. The wheels are different on this vehicle as well. At the front we get a 100 section, not a 110, which is there in the Duke 390, and this happens to be a 19-incher, not a 17-incher, which is there in the Duke 390. Now these are Metzeler Turin's dual purpose tires, and you can see the groove on the tires also very different. The forks have been revised. These are WP Apex forks with higher suspension travel. So the suspension travel happens to be 170 mm at the front. Meanwhile, at the rear for the monoshock, it happens to be 177 mm. So increase in suspension travel for obviously better ride quality and bump absorption. The pegs have been revised as well. You got this claw treatment, the tooth treatment, just for better grip off the road. Says Racing KTM. You also get an engine guard so that when you're riding off-road, there's no problem whatsoever. KTM branding right there, and it gets a nice crash guard too. There's the reflector, WP Apex, and the design of the motorcycle looks really very nice indeed. So it is ready for adventure. It even says that with this adventure branding. Meanwhile, KTM has been written there. Now this is the orange colored bike. There's also a white color. The exhaust looks really very ugly, but I guess you can change it for an Accra slip-on for around 20,000 more. Now the brakes are similar as the Duke 390, but the tire size at the rear has been revised as well. It's not a 150 section, it's a 130/80/17. Again, dual purpose tires on this motorcycle. Nice grab rail. Seat also has KTM branding on it. Yeah, definitely the seat looks really nice, and this treatment is also cool. They've tried to do a lot of attention to detail on this motorcycle. That is the mandatory sari guard, and it does not get a main stand, which is a bit disappointing. So you can see the coolant has been shifted behind in the center right there. Earlier it was ahead somewhere right here. I think that is just to make it more convenient while riding off-road, because in case you happen to hit something, the coolant should not break, because that is an important thing for the motorcycle to keep it cool. High compression engines, well, that is the thing. Hand guard and adjustable levers both for the brake as well as the clutch. The handlebar is now wider. The mirrors are the same as the first generation Duke. The mirrors have not been changed on any Duke since the time it has been launched in the Indian market. The tank is now bigger at 14.5 liters, and I love the lights at the rear along with LED indicators as well. So the design has definitely come in line with other KTM adventure motorcycles. WP branding, yeah, on both the places. KTM branding, so a lot of branding on this motorcycle. These are actually the controls for that instrument cluster, which is a TFT display. Looks really nice, and there's an optional navigation system as well. That's why it says remove for GPS mount for the optional turn-by-turn navigation. It gets a windshield which happens to be adjustable. Yeah, this windshield is actually adjustable, however only with Allen keys. Yeah, the quality of the motorcycle is really nice. This is actually for the light. You can do the pass by like this. I'm going to show you that right away. Anyways, mirrors give a good view of what's behind. The seat height of this motorcycle has actually increased, so it's very comfortable for tall riders like me, but for short riders it will be an issue. One touch starter. This is for the engine kill switch, and that happens to be the front master cylinder. Meanwhile, let's do one thing. Let's turn off the motorcycle, and let's turn it on once again to show you how this beautiful cluster lights up. There it says ready to race. Well, it should be saying ready to adventure. Now it is also having a night display. If I put my hand like this display turns black. Yeah, otherwise it is white in the day. So they've thought about all this and more. Now it is not the same one as the one on the Duke 390. They have revised it more in line with the Duke 790. So side stand indicator, trip, time, date, battery percentage, clock. Basically ABS is on road mode, not on off-road mode, because it's got off-road ABS, MTCs, motorcycle traction control, and it gets cornering lean angle function as well. So let's turn on the motorcycle, and there it rose to life. Traction control warning, ABS warning. So a lot of telltale lights placed all over as well. So it also gets a hazard light switch. Yeah, hazard light switch is also present on this motorcycle, which is a nice thing indeed. Yeah, the tachometer is nice and visible. I really like it. This is the odometer, distance to empty. So plenty of features on this motorcycle. In that sense, it's absolutely loaded for the price. But you might be wondering, that's such a nice motorcycle, you want to go touring, but how do you actually plug in your device? Well, they have a 12-volt power socket here, yeah, right below the instrument cluster, which is a nice thing indeed. Now to go through that main menu, press set, and here trip data, KTM my ride and settings are also available. So all you do is press set, and there is the quick selector one. You can actually decide the themes you want as well, automatic or night, which I already showed you that if you put your hand on the console and try to trick the motorcycle that's night, it will change, but then that's not going to last for long any which ways. So a lot of data here, but anyways, let's get riding right away. So right now I'm riding the KTM 390 Adventure here off-road, and let me tell you something, that the suspension is really very nice on this motorcycle. It's unbelievably good. Yeah, it is on the stiffer side, but does a great job indeed. As you can see, it absorbs almost everything in its stride, which is fantastic. Alrighty, however, this is not really as ready off-road as it should have been, because the tires don't offer the level of grip you would expect. Yes, certainly the good part here is that the suspension has a lot of travel on off-road condition, so you can easily ride off-road as well without any hiccup whatsoever. But putting that aside as such, you realize one thing, that the tires could have offered more grip, and this is more about adventure touring than off-road riding for sure. So feels comfortable off the road. Suspension is slightly on the stiffer side, but that is fine because the motorcycle manages just about well. Yeah, you just have to keep the momentum nicely, and then you will be able to go without any hiccup whatsoever. And there's so much power as well, but it could have happened, it could have had more low end grunt, which have definitely helped the scenario with this motorcycle off the road. It has a lot of grunt in the mid range, but then you have to reach that mid range first, and then only you can get going with enthusiasm. And you can't really rev the nuts out of a motorcycle off the road, because that really does not help. As you can see, riding over stones and all, no problem, because of the suspension travel being a lot. However, for the most part, I certainly believe that this is more about adventure touring than off-road riding, but still it does a great job indeed. You really can't accelerate it hard as such, because if you do, this motorcycle will almost certainly spin its wheels, although traction control is there to save you and it has your back. But the traction control problem here is the fact that the overall power delivery is a bit mellowed down. Not bit, it's quite a bit mellowed down, but it feels so comfortable somehow, especially on the road as well. So let's do one thing. Okay, you see, it's no issue riding this motorcycle anywhere. In fact, the brakes also offer good performance. Off-road ABS works brilliantly well, and still it's a very light motorcycle as such, 177 kgs, so you can move it around like this without any hiccup whatsoever. Taking a turn and all, no problem. Yeah, with the traction control off, it does slide its rear wheels, which is actually a good thing. Now it has got cornering ABS, ground clearance is good enough at 200 mm. So when you're riding on an off-road trail, no need to panic, nothing's going to scrape. The underbelly will definitely not scrape, and just performs so nicely as well. Yeah, the handlebar is wide, giving a good amount of leverage too. So KTM has indeed done a great job with the 390 Adventure, but this motorcycle honestly is not about outright off-road ability. It's more about going touring, because that's where it really excels as such. So without a doubt, I would say that although this motorcycle is very capable off the road, the Himalayan is just much more capable because it has more low-end grunt. Alright, here we go. First gear, almost 60 kilometers per hour, and trust me on this, out on the road this motorcycle feels super duper awesome. You know why? Because the KTM Duke 390 suffers with a stiff suspension. With the longer travel suspension, this just feels so freaking awesome and so good to ride. Now there's added weight because this weighs slightly more as well at 177 kgs, but it just feels so good for road riding. This is not really an off-road motorcycle in the real sense. It's more of a tourer, and the touring sense, it performs brilliantly well. Firstly, the handlebar is now wider, the seating position is even better now, and the suspension travel is more, which means that it's extremely comfortable. But there's a small problem, and the problem is that, yes, you got the problem, okay. The problem is that you really have to pull the motor in the mid-range for adequate grunt, because low end is a bit lacking, which is fine because it really pushes hard in the mid-range, and the top end as well it shines. They're running close to 10,000 RPM, but there are vibes on the pegs, there are vibes on the handlebar as well, and minor vibes on the seat as well. In fact, seat vibes can be felt, but the vibes are there elsewhere. Making a quick overtake, no problem. There is sure-footed grunt. This is the same 373.2cc engine. It's a single cylinder, it's a DOHC. It produces 43 horsepower and 37 Newton meters of torque, giving it more than enough grunt for riding. In fact, the grunt is so good that you will never ever complain of the lack of oomph, because there's just so much power and torque on offer. Feels really sure-footed. Ride quality is brilliant as well, and you know, it punches out of the corner hard and fast. 6-speed gearbox is really smooth shifting. It gets a bi-directional quick shifter, which is both for upshift as well as downshift. You saw I did the upshift without even having to get onto the clutch. Here again, beautiful gear shifts. Yeah, it gets a slipper clutch as well. Bi-directional quick shifter again. First in the segment. 0 to 100 km per hour should come up under 6 seconds. Top speed should be around 165 km per hour. Downshift, no problem. There you saw it happen so nicely. No need to press the clutch. So performance is really exciting, which has always been the case with KTM motorcycles, bar the 125s. Yeah, this is so much fun and nice as well. Braking performance is very sure-footed too. Here we go, 4th gear, and yeah, someone else is also riding. So coming through the corner, traction control is obviously it's showing a light right now. I don't know why. Anyways, coming through the corners, feels really sure-footed and nice in spite of the smaller tires and the dual-purpose tires. It has so much confidence to inspire, which is really impressive about this motorcycle. Yeah, it could have sounded better. It doesn't really sound nice. It sounds very similar to other KTM motorcycles, specifically the 390 Duke. Braking performance is sure-footed. Yeah, braking bite is excellent as well. And here we stall. Okay, here we go. The stalling shouldn't have happened. Anyways, the thing about this motorcycle is that with KTM motorcycles, we know cooling is a bit of an issue, because the engine is a high compression engine, which means that it does get heated up. Now KTM has given this 2 fans, not 1 but 2 fans, and the design of the radiator is also different. It is like a curve sort of. The reason for that is very simple. It is purely done so that, you know, this motorcycle, when going off-road, even with some dust being sprayed, doesn't have any problem whatsoever. Love the quick shifter. It works brilliantly well on this motorcycle, and wind blast is slightly better contained on this motorcycle due to the windscreen visor, which is adjustable, by the way. So as I see it, this KTM Adventure 390, or the 390 Adventure, is definitely more about touring and not really about off-road riding. It is enough off-road what a beginner will do, but mostly it is for touring and performs brilliantly well, because ride quality is absolutely sensational now. It is not soft or bouncy, it has more travel but still on the stiffer side, which means that the ride is so good that it performs brilliantly over the worst of roads, and you can just stand and feel like the king of the road. It doesn't feel light anymore, it just feels right somehow. Here, the gears are so smooth shifting as well, and you know, clearance could have been slightly better. Traction control has been turned on right now, and trust me on this, this is a very fun and engaging motorcycle to ride. A motorcycle which still retains the KTM's ready to race philosophy, because it really punches hard and fast. Pricing rupees 3.58 lakhs on road Mumbai, which many might find as attractively priced when you consider all the electronics on offer. It has a lean angle sensor as well for the motorcycle traction control system, cornering ABS along with off-road ABS too, which actually disengages ABS at the rear wheels so that you can slide out, and you can also disengage traction control, which again means that you can power out of corners. Now, like I told you, brakes are super duper awesome. Braking performance is so sure-footed, absolutely stunning. 177 kgs is the weight. You can't really feel the weight as such, because the weight balance is really very nice. So KTM has actually done, like I've said it before, I'm going to say it again, a great job indeed with the 390 Adventure, making it more touring focused than off-road. But let me tell you something straight away. If you're looking for a motorcycle for off-road riding, only off-road riding, then the Himalayan is a better bet, because it's built better somehow, in the sense that, you know, things won't break as easily on the Himalayan as they do on this motorcycle. And if they break on the Himalayan, they are definitely cheaper to repair. Not on this machine, a lot of expensive parts, especially this cluster, as well as that expensive LED headlight. But you know, the way the suspension is able to absorb the bumps is really very nice indeed. So from my side, I definitely give this motorcycle a big fat thumbs up, because it's an amazing machine. The only other competitor for this motorcycle happens to be the one from Bavaria, the one which has the same logo as this car, the BMW G310 GS. After riding this motorcycle for almost half a day, I can tell you that it's absolutely impressive, but there are certain things which I missed out on. First and foremost, actually, there's this KTM My Ride which lets you pair your phone via Bluetooth to actually get call notifications, I think messages as well, and you can listen to music obviously with a headset or a Bluetooth headset inside your helmet. Meanwhile, it also lets you push navigation data onto this cluster, so it has this turn-by-turn navigation, which you have to have the KTM My Ride app as well. Now, the wheelbase of this motorcycle has been lengthened a bit. The swing arm is also longer on this machine, and like I told you, the placement of the coolant is shifted. Well, that's actually easier and better to see what exactly is the coolant level of this motorcycle. So very impressed by this machine, the way it rides on road, but somehow it feels a little less punchy than the 390 Duke, maybe due to the added weight. That's not all. It doesn't have the outright grunt which you would expect from an adventure motorcycle, especially off the road. But still, I give this motorcycle a big thumbs up, and this vlog a big thumbs up as well. How can I give that? You should do it. Bye bye.